Okay, the matchup everyone's talking about, Texas 7, Ohio State 14. Let's talk about it. So, Texas is suffering from a term that I like to call Trevor Lawrence Syndrome. Now, what is Trevor Lawrence Syndrome, you ask? I'm going to read out the definition. Here it is. Quote, because Trevor Lawrence was an instant success, or guys like Trevor Lawrence were an instant success as a five-star QB, everyone irrationally thinks that their five-star QB will be good immediately. This is a contagious plague, I would say, that has affected a lot of college football media, Paul Feinbaum, and a lot of college football fans. A lot of fans, a lot of people bought into Arch Manning. And I'm actually not going to sit here and say that Arch Manning is a bust or he's going to be selling insurance or whatever it may be. You can go to Twitter for that. You can go to another show for that. I'm not in the business of doing that. We make observations, not conclusions in week one. And I'm actually going to take a different angle to this, a different angle that you probably haven't heard. Texas fans will know what I'm talking about. I'm going to take y'all back. October 11th, 2003, Texas versus Oklahoma. Vince Young's first career start. And those of you that don't know, Vince Young was a highly touted recruit. He was extremely hyped up. Him and Jadeveon Clowney are the only guys ever to receive a perfect rating coming out of high school. Arch Manning, also number one in his class. Anyway, you know the point. So Vince Young's hyped up. He gets his first career start in Texas. You know what he does? He goes 11 for 21, 135 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Oklahoma wins the game 65-13. Vince Young, not going to spoil, but those of you that don't know, Vince Young went on to be a national champion. Vince Young went on to... So, what's my point here? These things take time. Vince Young was not an instant success. Most people are not an instant success. As a matter of fact, most five-stars actually miss more than they hit. You don't believe me? Go look it up. There's a lot of five-star QBs that you don't know their name. I guarantee you. So, my overarching point here. Those that are currently saying Arch Manning's going to be a bust, Arch Manning's going to be selling insurance at State Farm, are the same people that 1 week ago were saying Arch Manning's going to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's going to light the world on fire against Ohio State. Same exact people. So, just going to put that out there. That being said, let's talk about the game. The positives for Texas, despite outside of Arch Manning, the O-line looked great. 4.5 yards per carry for Texas, 2.9 yards per carry for Ohio State. Texas dominates in the trenches. Pretty much. Only gave up 2.9 yards per carry. Allowed 14 points. So why did they lose the game? Who do we put the blame on? You got to put some of it on Arch Manning. I'm not going to sit here and say that Arch Manning is a bona fide bust. I'm just going to say that these things take time. 37% of his attempts off target. Highest by a Texas quarterback in the last 10 years. The receivers, to be frank with you, got open. Arch just missed it. And it won't show as much in the box score. This is subjective. I think that Sark called a very good game. I think one thing that he noticed is, this is a little bit of an interesting stat here. Arch Manning in play action, PFF charts this, was 5 for 10 for 26 yards in 2 adjusted interceptions. So, and that can be picks that you throw, and it can be added like dropped interceptions, minus, tipped by receivers right to defensive backs. You know the ordeal. 5 for 10 for 26 yards in play action. Arch Manning, not in play action, was 12 for 20, 144 yards and a touchdown. There's a question here as to why the splits are so different there. My belief is he's incredibly raw, and justifiably so. He has little to no experience in this game. He's a newbie. And so things are going to develop as time went on. He also played against significantly lesser high school competition. And I know that's being thrown around as to say this is why he's overrated, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that. But that's to say that a competition like that, competition gap like that, can take time. It can take time for people to be able to adjust to that, to adapt to that. Like college to the NFL, like high school to college. It's the same type of ordeal. But I think Arch's footwork and RPOs looked a little bit just perplexing. There was a 3rd and 5 where Arch, towards the end of the game, Arch Manning had Ryan Wingo really open. Ryan Wingo was running a crosser. And Arch kind of didn't set his feet and just sidearmed it there and overthrew him. Wingo had to make a one-hand grab and didn't. If he would have just set his feet, he probably would have been able to hit him in stride, and Texas would have gotten a first down, and they would have kept driving, and that's a chance to win the game. So that throw right there was kind of a microcosm of what we saw last Saturday from Texas's offense. The receivers got open. The run game clicked. The offensive line was excellent, which, if you're a Texas fan, that's all a lot of positives. The QB play just wasn't accurate. And you got to talk about it, and that's the reality of it. It's not like Texas as a team has a plethora of issues. I think Arch Manning would be the first to tell you that the issues just came under center. It wasn't his day. It was his first start. He was on the road in a really hostile environment against probably the best defense in the country. And if not that, at least in the top 2 with their counterpart in Texas in that discussion as well. So, that being said, I'll call a spade a spade. Texas right now probably has a QB problem. Is this a problem that's going to exist for the entire season? I don't think so. Experience is the best teacher, and I believe Arch has the talent around him and the coaching around him and the traits. He's 6'6", he's got great arm strength, he's quick to improve and to get better. And here's a positive for Texas, because I'm going to be blunt here. If Arch Manning continues to play like he did against Ohio State, they're not going to survive the gauntlet of SEC play and be in the playoff picture. I just think it's highly unlikely. But you look at Texas's schedule. Okay, you get San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston State, a bye, and then you go into the swamp at Florida. So Texas has 1 month, essentially, to fix what all is happening under center. And that could be a really good thing for them, a really needed thing for them. Because, again, I'm not going to label Arch Manning this bust. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of arm strength. Everything is there for him to succeed. It's just incredibly raw. And that comes with it, with a lot of inexperienced players. That being said, the other side of the ball. Ryan Day coached one heck of a game. The game plan was super conservative. He chewed up a lot of clock. I believe that if Ohio State's game plan wasn't so conservative, that they would have ran away, that they could have ran the score a little bit more than what you think. That 14-7 could be a little bit misleading. And let's talk about Julian Sayin. 13 for 20, 165 yards, 6.2 yards per pass attempt. You look at his 6.2 yards per pass attempt and say, that's an okay game. I think it was a lot better than that. I think Julian Sayin played a lot better than what the statistics tell you. And my reason being is Texas, surprisingly, played more zone coverage than I initially expected. I kind of thought they were going to play a lot of man like last year, but their strategy was, I guess, not to break. And Jeremiah Smith looked a little bit rusty. Sayin had an 80% adjusted completion percentage. 89% of his throws were on target, so he was extremely accurate. And because Texas played a lot of zone, there were a lot of throws open underneath. And mind I tell you, this game wasn't this type of just, like the Red River Shootout in the 2010s. It wasn't like that type of game. No, it was let's play safe football, good, clean football. And so we're not going to try to take any risks here. I'm going to take what the defense gives me underneath. And guess what? Julian Sayin did a darn good job of that because Texas gave him little crevices underneath because they played a lot more zone coverage than I initially thought. And Sayin hit the guys. I mean, Smith had some drops, 89% of throws on target. That's fantastic, especially as your first legit true start. I mean, I think Ohio State is in excellent hands with Julian Sayin. So they kept allowing those throws underneath. And a lot of people were probably wondering, man, why didn't Ohio State expand the playbook for him? You know, they probably could have. They didn't need to. That wasn't a part of the game plan. And those that are questioning, well, can Julian Sayin light it up and get some explosive plays going? Yeah, he can. Just ask Carnell Tate, man. Just ask him. See what he did. Long bomb for a touchdown. When he needs to, he delivered. And that is a very, very positive sign for Ohio State. I am a little bit concerned about this run game. I think that's something to monitor as the season goes on. I mean, what do they average? Like 2.9 yards per carry in this game. 31 carries for 89 yards. And the reason why it's a concern is because they probably wouldn't have won the national championship if it weren't for the games that Judkins had against Notre Dame and that Travion had against Ohio State, that 75-yard screen to the house. Does Ohio State have that guy at running back? It didn't look like it with Peoples and Donaldson. That's just something to keep a lookout. But as much as I was encouraged about Ohio State, this defense is ultra talented. Sayin looks the part. The receivers are excellent. I think this game showed more of Texas's problems right now than it did Ohio State's strengths. That being said, I believe that both of these teams, because they're so young and there's so many new pieces, Ohio State had a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, new quarterback, new running backs, some new offensive linemen, six of seven new starters in their front seven, and 3 of 5 of their starters are new at DB. So that being said, there's a lot of new for Ohio State, and Texas is a lot onslaught of guys to replace too. Hey, another positive for Texas, that offensive line, a lot of people were questioning them because they lost a lot of guys to the NFL. Well, they played their tails off on Saturday. They did. So I think Texas and Ohio State are both only going to get better as the season goes on because of how young and new these teams are. I think Texas has some problems that need to be fixed if they want to survive the gauntlet of the SEC play and get into the college football playoff. You go at Florida, you go at Georgia, I don't know if you're going to get away with that. Just saying. But Ohio State looks great. It was a great win for them. And they will only get better as the season goes on. And I'd like to think that that is pretty scary for the rest of college football.